compilation of some of your favorite Craziest Crimes videos. Enjoy!
In the 1960s, Richard Blass was a notorious Canadian gangster and hitman for the infamous West End Gang of Montreal, Canada. First boxing as an amateur kid to release his anger, he quickly transitioned into an assassin known for his hate of the mafia families and the fact that the Italian families had a grip on Montreal's underworld business. After surviving multiple assassination attempts by the mafia, including 2 shootings, a fire, and 2 prison escapes, he gained the nickname Le Chat, or the Cat, for his ability to always avoid death. But like most gangster stories, his time would run out. On January 24, 1975, Richard was tracked down to a hideout in Val-David after he had massacred 13 in a bar, fearing they could testify against him for a bank robbery he committed. Upon entering his hideout, Richard approached them, to which he was shot over 26 times, dying seconds later. October 21st, 2009, St. Martin's, Missouri. 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton was at home when she was lured in the woods by her 15-year-old neighbor, Alyssa Bustamante. Around 2007, her friends stated she had been acting strange and was even hospitalized for an attempted suicide. She had a YouTube channel with one of her hobbies listed being cutting. She even had an image of her pointing 2 fingers like a gun toward her head. These obvious red signs went unnoticed, and on October 21st, Alyssa used her younger sister to convince Elizabeth to enter the woods where she was strangled, had her throat slit, and was stabbed 8 times. After the killing, Alyssa would write in her journal, "I just killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them. Now they're dead. I don't know how to feel at the moment. It was amazing." She was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. On November 11th, 2009, 30-year-old Therese Ann Lynch Moore was at a Target parking lot in Des Moines when her estranged husband, 38-year-old Randall Moore, kidnapped her at gunpoint. She had previously filed a restraining order against him mere weeks before the attack, and after snatching her, the entire Lynch family received text messages from Randall stating he kidnapped Therese Ann and she would be dead soon. He would take her back to his apartment where he assaulted and killed her. Officer Todd Rowland would arrive to the scene after a radio call when he was shot, but survived. Randall later surrendered after a standoff. During trial, he showed no remorse and claimed he just wanted to see his 7-month-old son. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for murder and 25 added years for the attempt on Officer Todd Rowland. August 5, 2020, Denver, Colorado. 16-year-old Kevin Bowie said he had his phone stolen from him in a city park and used an app to track his phone down, which led to a street address where a Senegalese family of 5 who immigrated to America lived. Along with Kevin was another 16-year-old Gavin Seymour and 14-year-old Dillian Siebert, who all decided they were going to teach the believed thieves a lesson. Masked up and armed, they would set the entire house on fire, killing the family of 5. It would later be revealed that the Senegalese family they just massacred had nothing to do with the stolen phone. The trio was captured half a year later, and Gavin Seymour was sentenced to 40 years. Kevin Bowie, the leader, was sentenced to 60 years, and Dillian Siebert received only 3 years of juvie and 7 years of a state program. March of 2021, Strafford, Missouri. 48-year-old Tanya Hui previously had back surgery and was at home recovering when her parents, 71-year-old Ronald Kohler and 78-year-old Linda Kohler, came over to visit and help her during the recovery process. Tanya lived with her husband, 50-year-old Jesse Hui, who alleged her parents practically moved in, at least claimed Linda did, and Ronald would come over whenever he pleased. After a week of Linda and Ronald staying at their home, Jesse was fed up. He wanted them gone and felt as if they were disrespecting him and taking over his home. So he would exit the home, retrieved his gun, came back inside and shot his wife, her mother, and her father in the head once, before shooting them all once more in the head. He would call police immediately and confess to the murder. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences.
I shot my wife and her mom and her stepdad. Cold-blooded murder this afternoon. Okay. Shot them each twice in the head. Okay.
July 6th, 2024. Palm Bay, Florida. 41-year-old Kelly McCollum and her boyfriend, 22-year-old Matthew Zainrock, had just returned home from a night out when they were ambushed by Kelly's 16-year-old daughter, Julia Grace Eagler. As they entered the home, Julia stated, "Surprise!" before firing multiple shots into her mother and her boyfriend as he pleaded for her to stop. He would then retreat to a bathroom before she followed and stabbed him numerous times before he begged her to put him out of his misery, shooting him once in the head. She called the police and initially lied about an intruder breaking in during the night and attacking the family. But as police arrived and doubted this story, she confessed. She admitted she was upset her mother didn't approve of her wanting a gender change and decided to kill both of them. She is charged with 2 counts of murder. July 22, 2022, Atlanta, Georgia. 16-year-old Susana Morales had been walking home from a friend's house one night when she disappeared. It wouldn't be until 7 months later that her remains were found in the woods after a passerby reported finding skeleton remains. Close by was a handgun. On the night of her disappearance, 23-year-old Atlanta cop Miles Bryant had filed a report claiming that someone had broken into his truck and stolen his wallet and handgun. This was later found out to be a lie, and the gun found near Susana's remains was in fact Miles' weapon, tying him to the crime. It's believed he offered Susana a ride home that night, and when she entered his vehicle, he assaulted and murdered her. He was already reported by a female classmate from high school for stalking prior to this murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. On October 5, 2012, 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway was on her way to school walking to her meetup spot at a nearby park where her friends would be. She never made it. Walking alone is very dangerous for any child, and Jessica was taught in school the signs to look out for when and if the situation occurred. Unbeknownst to Jessica, a 17-year-old boy named Austin Sigg was watching her every move. He waited until she walked past him with a snowball in her hand and jumped out of his vehicle and snatched her. She screamed like instructed in school, but no one heard her. The teen would bound and take Jessica to his home where he assaulted, strangled, and dismembered her before hiding her body in a pool shed behind his house. Austin would then confess weeks later to his mother, who would then call the police and tell them his confession. He was charged and sentenced to life imprisonment. In September of '78, 15-year-old Mary Vincent's parents were going through a messy divorce, and due to stress, she decided to hitchhike to her grandfather's home in California. While there, she became homesick and decided to hitchhike back to Las Vegas. After failing to flag down multiple cars, 51-year-old Larry Singleton stopped and picked up her where horrors would unfold. After realizing the man was driving the opposite way from where she needed to go, she attempted to escape, to which she was struck with a sledgehammer, tied up, assaulted, and both arms chopped off before being discarded down a hill. She managed to survive the ordeal, reach authorities, and helped lead to his capture and arrest. After only serving 8 years, Larry was released, when he would then murder a mother of 3 in 1997, before being arrested and dying on death row.
November of 2012, Colorado. 48-year-old Mark Redwine was home alone with his son 13-year-old Dylan Redwine after he and his older brother, Corey Redwine, had found disturbing images on their father's computer while on a previous road trip. According to Corey, they found photos of their father in women's clothing, wearing a diaper, and even more sickening, eating feces. Corey then confronted his father over this during a text, calling him a feces-eating coward, to which Mark responds, "You're just trying to hurt me like your mother did." Corey said Dylan lost any reason to look up to him anymore that day. So in November, Dylan wanted to use those photos to leverage an argument with his dad, according to Corey, which led to Mark snapping and killing his son with a blunt and sharp object before discarding him a few miles from their home, where he was found the following year. October 8, 2021, he was sentenced to 48 years for the murder.